Escapism would be kind of when we look for other realities rather than our own. We might use media or even read books as a form of going into another, explore other worlds than the one we are currently in. We can have fun with different types of content, even with sports, to kind of get lost in some kind of a narrative or a situation that doesn't necessarily pertain to our own experience. I think it could be many things. I think it could be definitely related to escapism, but I think also one would be keeping up with the Joneses, kind of doing what everybody else is doing. Also, this conspicuous form of browsing, like we're scrolling on our phones or our tablets many times per day. And I think also fear of missing out, also known as FOMO, could be one major concern that, previously, you've seen the memes where to find your friends in the 90s, you have to find just a bunch of bicycles in the street. But now you don't have that anymore. So the alternative would be to keep being on social media. I think definitely escapism can be linked to other underlying mechanisms such as anxiety or depression. Also various levels of coping mechanisms with our current day-to-day lives. People can be overwhelmed by anything related to managing classes and work, to obligations in our daily lives, or things like student loan debt, or other forms of debt like healthcare debt, right? And which can then lead to depression and or anxiety, which then can lead to escapism. Not too familiar with it. I know there are some things that are fairly advanced, such as Oculus Rift, and probably some immersive gaming or interactive experiences that you can have with that. I'm sure that the experience will probably be so overwhelming that we would want to use it for its own sake in the beginning. It's not really mainstream adapted yet. You can't go into an AT&T store and get high-end virtual reality. Although I know they have where you can put your phone and it becomes a virtual reality like a game. But I think that escapism, yeah, it could probably be technologically enabled through such thing as virtual reality. But I also don't think that. I think that would be more of the cutting edge. That's a good question. Some technologies like the laser disc, if you remember that one, a CD that was as big as a LP or a vinyl. And some technologies don't survive, and whether or not virtual reality in some form definitely will, right? There might be a time when you can watch a sporting event inside the stadium and you get all the real sounds, but you can also watch it on virtual reality while you're in the event, right? Google Glass was something that kind of didn't catch on. That was like a heads-up display with real life paired into it. But definitely, it will be interesting to see what comes out. I do. I play mostly sports-related video games. I play maybe usually in the weekends when I have time, also or after the semester, right, when I'm done teaching. I do enjoy it quite a bit. I like it more than watching passively on some kind of a platform like Netflix or Hulu. The reason why I began maybe in my late teens when I figured I'd like to be involved with the media as it goes on, rather than passively watching. Sometimes I don't have the, we talked about this in class, right? Sometimes I don't have the energy to play a game, so I'd rather sit back and watch. But yes, that to some degree, whether or not it's part of my form of escapism, it's more so the what is that? What would that be called again? Not necessarily escapism, but I don't know. Maybe it is, right? Maybe it is a form of escapism. I will never know how it is to play in the NBA. So I play NBA 2K, right? I think basketball is a great game. Sometimes simply being me and bouncing a ball don't really make justice towards how you can play the game on the, you know. So I get to live that experience with the game and in many different levels. I play those kind of games like a first-person shooter or third-person even, kind of intermittently, like between sports games when I get tired of them. Or I've then also then venture into maybe watching a show. I'm pretty bad at watching shows, but I watch a show. If I start one, I tend to watch it until it's over with. Kind of like last show I watched in full was The Sopranos, which is it's a little bit old, but it's something I couldn't not have seen. That would be an interesting. That is an interesting question. I think that it can be. It's not only negative, right? In heavy amounts or over a long period of time, escapism can be a concern. Such as if you spend your entire 4 years, 5 years of college, constantly online, constantly playing video games, then that can not only have a detriment to your time as a student. You might feel like the time has just gone by and you don't even remember anything, other than the time you spent perhaps not dealing with those things that can trigger the action, the escapism itself. On the positive note, escapism can be related to what we talk about in was it chapter 4 in our class, uses and gratification, in that we have a lot of positive things that can come out of media usage. We get different gratifications, such as we can have involvement with characters, we can get inspiration from a narrative, we can see a movie and we can think about the world or ourselves in the world in a different way, and things like that. So, and in order to, to deal with media to some degree, the escapism can be, for good and bad.